Starting tomorrow, please refrain from coming in. The manager, the boss's daughter, briskly informed me the moment I stepped into the office. Her disdain for me was palpable, though the extent of it caught me off guard. Stunned, I resolved to comply with her directive. Days passed, each one marked by the manager's relentless antagonism towards me. Assigned to the planning department, a position I had eagerly sought since joining the company, I devoted myself diligently to my tasks, yet my efforts were constantly undermined by the manager, who, being the president's daughter, wielded unchecked authority. One morning, summoned by the manager, I found myself subjected to her condescending scrutiny. "Do you even know why you're here?" she sneered. Her contempt for my alma mater, repeatedly dismissed as low-ranking, permeated her every word. The sense of alienation among my colleagues compounded my discomfort. "Effective immediately, your presence here is no longer required," she declared, her tone dripping with disdain. Her entourage echoed her derision, amplifying my humiliation. "Am I being fired?" I ventured, my voice betraying a mix of disbelief and resignation. The manager's response, laced with arrogance, left no room for doubt. Resigned to my fate, I swiftly completed the necessary resignation formalities. Months later, settled into a new role at a different company, I was inundated with pleas from my former employer to return. The president's desperation contrasted starkly with the manager's callous indifference. Reluctantly, I reached out to the president, who implored me to reconsider. Despite his earnestness, I couldn't overlook the systemic injustice I had endured. The company's pleas fell on deaf ears as I resolved to forge ahead without looking back. "I am no longer associated with that company," I asserted, my intention to end the call evident. "We can sort this out if we talk. I'll bring my daughter along next time so we can discuss this." The president countered before I disconnected without a reply. I intended to call back later. Upon arriving at work, I was informed of visitors. Doubtful, I made my way to the reception room, only to find the former company's president and the manager waiting. "You really came, and how do you know I'm working at this company?" I questioned, surprised. "The company I currently work for is a rival of my previous one." "Hey, Ben, I used my connections to find you." "For now, just take a seat," the president insisted. Reluctantly, I complied, meeting the manager's gaze, wondering if she had truly come to apologize. Suddenly, she slammed her hand on the table. "This makes no sense. Why should I have to come all this way for someone like him?" she exclaimed, her tone accusatory. "Excuse me, if you want to talk, you should be the one coming to me," she continued, her agitation palpable. Far from apologizing, she was yelling at me. "I don't really have anything to say," she ranted. "It's ridiculous to quit just because you got a little scolded at work." "Quit because I was scolded? What do you mean?" "I gave advice on your plan, but you didn't want to take it, so you quit." "That's not how a professional behaves," she insisted, her words bewildering. I couldn't comprehend what the manager was saying. "That's not how it happened." "I was suddenly told not to come to the company," I interjected, trying to clarify. "You think just because I'm the president's daughter, I got my position through connections, and you don't want to take advice from me," she continued, unfazed by my explanation. The manager kept spouting nonsense without caring about what I had to say. "Wait, that's not true. You never even looked at my plans," I retorted, frustration mounting. "Dad, I've been enduring until now, but I can't anymore." "He always looked down on me because I'm a woman," she accused, her tone laden with resentment. Got mad for a little scolding, saying that. The manager ignored my words, acting as if she sought comfort from the president. "My daughter was treated like that." "None of that is true. So you're saying her crying is a lie?" the president interjected, disappointment evident in his voice. "I'm disappointed, Ben. I didn't think you were that kind of person," he added, his words piercing. "Moreover, it's outrageous to get re-employed by a rival company," the manager concluded, her disdain palpable. "I truly wanted to continue working in the same field. That's why I made the difficult decision to join this company. That was the truth. Even after joining the planning department I aspired for, I was completely ignored by the manager and never got the chance to prove my capabilities. However, I couldn't bring myself to leave this industry, and my current company welcomed me. You must have sold our company's information to get this job, right? Why else would they hire someone as incompetent as you? The manager accused. I did no such thing. I've maintained confidentiality, and this company never asked me for any information. People can say anything. In fact, our company has. Stop. Don't say another word, the president hastily interrupted, signaling to the manager to halt. Was she about to say something they didn't want me to hear? Such a useless person. This company should fire him. A low-ranked individual only brings shame. If Ben apologizes, I might consider taking him back. I'll even reassign him to the planning department if he wishes. For now. We don't need someone like him. Just bear with it and continue as usual. We'll manage. Then, I want a raise. The two of them continued discussing without any regard for my opinion. Despite my repeated expressions of unwillingness to return, I was being told to apologize and be forgiven. The frustration of being treated like a fool left me trembling. The manager noticed and sneered. Are you crying with joy? It figures. Low-ranked individuals really can't help themselves. You really are a kind soul, aren't you? She mocked. Sure, I am. Taking someone like him back is nothing short of generous. Just make sure you don't irritate me too much. Make sure you listen to your boss, okay? I have no intention of leaving this company, I asserted. You still don't get it. I'm offering to take care of you before you get fired for incompetence. You really are clueless. That's the way it is. But don't quit over a little scolding this time, the president added dismissively. The mocking continued. Saying that, the president and the manager mocked me. Mr. President, if I may be so bold, the manager is lying. I spoke up, desperate. After all we've been saying, you're taking this attitude. I'm not lying. That's quite the accusation. Do you have any evidence to back that up? Yes, I prepared this just in case, I said and took a voice recorder out of my bag. I had recorded not only the day the manager told me to leave, but also any other occasions when she had said something unreasonable. You've been recording me? Unbelievable. At the sight of the voice recorder, the manager visibly panicked. Dad, we don't need to listen to this. Let's just go. Then I'll play it. I played the recording, making sure the manager, who was attempting to leave, could hear it. The recording unmistakably captured the manager's voice instructing me not to come to the company. What's the meaning of this? My daughter was lying. It's a lie, the president explained. Undeterred, I went on to reveal all the unfair treatment I had endured from the manager. The recording included the sound of my proposal being torn up, the manager and her aunt bad-mouthing me during work hours, and the crucial exchange where I asked why my proposals were never reviewed. Her reply stung. They're from a low-ranked individual like you. Your ideas are as expected. It was undeniable proof that the manager had been lying. By the way, this is the proposal that the manager tore up, I said, handing a freshly printed proposal to the president. He took it, visibly shaken, and started reading. No way. It's the plan for the hit product this company is currently selling, he explained. This project was one I had poured my heart and soul into, hoping for the manager's approval, but all my efforts had been in vain. The proposal was torn up without even being read. Why did you reject this proposal? You didn't even look at it. I demanded. The manager shrugged it off. Well, his proposals were always so pathetic. I thought there was no need to read them. It's his fault for always behaving badly. I wasn't satisfied and handed another set of documents to the president. Most of them were products developed since I moved to my current company, so it's all true, I explained. These were Ben's plans, the president confirmed. Yes, I worked hard, hoping to be recognized by the manager, but not once did she look at my proposals. I questioned the manager's actions, bewildered by the disregard for my efforts. I'm not the one at fault here, the manager retorted. The president, regaining his composure, addressed the potential copyright violation. Wait, these plans were all developed by this company, right? That's a violation of copyright law. What are you going to do about that? Indeed, if we sue, we'll win, right? He challenged. The president, who had been flustered until then, suddenly seemed to regain his composure and retorted. The manager looked at me as if to say she'd gotten the upper hand. Manager, don't you remember? When I left, you promised to transfer all the copyrights of my projects to me, didn't you? I confronted her. I never said that. I don't remember, she denied. Unfazed, I presented evidence. You're probably going to say you recorded it, right? What's the point of such verbal agreement? No, it's not just that. I got it in writing with your signature. I said that. I began, presenting a piece of paper to the manager. It clearly stated that the copyrights belonged to me, acknowledged and signed by her. What? I don't remember signing this. The manager seemed flustered upon seeing the document. When I submitted my resignation paperwork, I included this document and got your signature on all the papers. That's sneaky. Making me sign something hidden, I accused. If it wasn't hidden, didn't you even read the documents you were signing? I pressed. The manager's face turned pale. Oh no, this document states I hold all the copyrights. I see, I understand. It seems my daughter was really in the wrong, the president interjected, casting a disapproving glance at the manager. Dad, don't say such terrible things. Shut up. Do you have any idea how much profit you've cost us? The manager retorted. Ignoring her outburst, the president turned to me. Ben, won't you please consider coming back to our company? I promise to offer you a higher position than before, one better than your current company can provide. What about me then? You were not ready for the manager position. Start from the beginning again. The president's words made the manager crumble. But such things no longer mattered to me. The president was desperately trying to win me over. So, what do you say? Have you changed your mind about returning? There's no one left to give you a hard time anymore, you know, the president urged, his eyes gleaming. Wanting to leave the situation, I asked him a question. There's something I want to ask. Sure, ask me anything, the president replied eagerly. It hasn't been long since I left your company, so why are you so desperate to bring me back now? I questioned. The president's voice suddenly faded, and he began to make excuses. We've been very busy recently. I thought about addressing it sooner, but I couldn't find the time. Sorry, he stumbled over his words. I didn't miss the president's eyes darting around as he made excuses. Is that so? Because it seemed like you were mostly playing golf when I was working there, I remarked pointedly. That was necessary for business networking. If you want, I can take you with me from now on, the president offered. No, that's all right. Feel free to reach out anytime, I declined. You're going to be our star player from now on, the president continued, talking as if my return to the company was a foregone conclusion, though he was making concessions. The pressure of not going against the president weighed heavily on me. There must be a reason you want me back in the company so badly. Reason. It's nothing grand. I just want to make things right for you, especially since my daughter caused you trouble. The president smoothly dodged the issue, but I could see through his facade. The president's real motive was clear, rendering this all a futile effort. Our company's performance had been growing, while his company had started to stagnate right after I joined. The products I planned hit the market successfully, skyrocketing sales, and rapidly increasing the company's reputation. I even got interviewed on TV as the planner. Compared to this thriving company, the president's company's performance had been lackluster. Being a traditional company, it failed to incorporate anything new and lacked buzz. Once seen as rivals, the difference between the two companies was now like night and day. Did you see me on TV? Is that why you hastily contacted me? Well, what was it again? Didn't you realize I had left or that your company's performance wasn't growing until you saw me on TV? I had a lot I wanted to say. Why did he ignore the harassment I was receiving? Why didn't he inquire when I had to leave abruptly for an unreasonable reason? But conveying that to the president now meant nothing. There's no need for me to be involved anymore, I stated firmly. Did you think I was unaware of everything? You're a spiteful person. Yes, our company is in a pinch. If you know that, come back quickly. The president's tone turned accusatory. I have no intention of leaving this company, I affirmed. Are you defying me? I was the one who transferred you, a low-ranked college graduate, to the planning department. Are you repaying my kindness with betrayal? The president's words stung, but I remained resolute. I am grateful for being placed in the planning department and offered many ideas and response. However, it was the president's kin who refused to accept them. How dare you speak to me like that? As the president raised his voice, the door to the reception room swung open. Ben has been of great service to us, boss. We're in the middle of something. I can't have you entering unannounced. With all due respect, it's also a nuance for our company when you come without an appointment. Occupy the reception room and tie up our valuable employee. A person of your level shouldn't be so arrogant. Who do you think I am? I spoke firmly to the newcomer. My apologies. May I offer you my business card? My boss presented a business card to the president. The president snatched it, and his face turned pale as he read it. My father is busy, so I came in his stead. I will be serving as the CEO from next year. My boss, like the manager, was the son of the company's president and an extremely capable person set to become the new president next year. I had no idea. No problem. We're grateful for the talented individual you've provided us. The president bowed, and I felt a sense of puzzlement as to why he seemed so anxious. However, we will have to decline the collaboration project you proposed recently. My boss announced. What? You said you considered it to help our company, the president exclaimed. I did consider it. Even though it's a rival company, seeing a traditional manufacturer falter doesn't feel right. Then why? The president questioned, only to be interrupted. Seeing the character of you and your daughter, I couldn't bring myself to support you. Please reconsider, my boss explained. The president desperately apologized, and the manager seemed to finally realize the gravity of the situation. Please help me out here. I'm sorry, the manager pleaded. It's my boss's decision. There's nothing I can do, my boss replied firmly. After that, the president and the manager were escorted out by security guards. Ben, I believe in you. I'll be waiting, the president shouted as he left. I just watched him go. Later, I heard that the manager's company's performance continued to plummet, making management difficult. The calls kept coming after that day, so I changed my phone number. Meanwhile, the company I work for continues to grow rapidly. I want to keep working here for the foreseeable future.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my 2nd year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. "Take care." That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. "I will do my best." Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. "Did you not hear what I said?" "I'm sorry." I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit any time," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick? What's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I immediately followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. "Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize." Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed, I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry." Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.